Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. Josh Lander coming to you with 9 games here on Tuesday. Going to run quickly through how we did on Christmas. Hope everybody stuffed themselves silly and had a good time with family like I did. Did all right on the props there. Only had 6 total bets for you on the day. Came out with 5 in the video and also had an extra one that I put out there on social media and in the comments and on YouTube Shorts. So hopefully you were able to get a hold of Luka under 4.5 turnovers. That was too high and it was still stale. So it was a wonderful line, even though got it for minus 130. So obviously not that much juice. I personally put 1.3 units on it to get a full unit back in return there. But however you guys played that, if you did, you won. If you took under 3.5 for good juice, you lost. So I didn't even put that one out because I was a little bit worried about that. But Julius Randle went under his 13.5 rebounds and assists, and Derek White went over his 20.5 points and assists. Toby Harris did not. He had an incredible game. It was Tyrese Maxey who got locked up, which was not the predictable sort of, I guess, outcome that we all thought would happen, obviously, because Toby Harris, from where he's coming from on the floor, was not a good matchup against Miami, but still lost that one. Kevon Looney was a bad look. I was mentioning I didn't know if it was between he and Dario Saric who was going to do better. Saric against the second unit was clearly a better bet. Looney had to play against that first unit, did not do well. He's been getting bashed a bit lately, and it's tough to tell with the minutes and when he got the minutes. That was a good read. He just didn't put out the performance, to be honest. And Saric had a great time with Paul and company on the second unit for the Warriors. So Malik Beasley, bad read. I mean, look, he just didn't take the shots. I still can't really tell you why Milwaukee lost. I don't know. Maybe they should have been going to their shooting guards and passing to the corners more, but he only ended up getting 19.5 minutes. So I guess it's just he's not that consistent. He's not, you can't just bank on him playing 30 minutes like he was. So 3-3, still made 0.2 units because we put that much on Luka. Hopefully you guys tailed that one as well. We are now 68 and 57 on the season, plus 4.9 units. Overall, 11.6 units up on the player props there, 52 and 40. So we do have one side in this one, but predominantly player props in the 5 bets I'm bringing you here. So let's get into my favorite one. You're probably going to see this from some people because the stats that show Jabari Smith against the team he's going up against here at home in the Pacers, it's a good matchup for power forwards and his type of player, especially. So, but really, he's just also been stepping up huge in the last 3. So we're going over 26.5 points and rebounds, to be clear. And like I said, in the last 3 for him, he's been going absolutely bananas, 27 points per game and 10.5 rebounds per game on 63, 60, and 90% from the free throw line. Also getting more than 7 free throw attempts per game, which is what I love from him, showing that he's attacking the rim. He's getting most of his points from down low. He's only taking 5 shots from deep and still getting about 14, 15 shots a game. So that means he's getting to the he's getting inside and shooting a lot more inside of 9 feet, which is what you love to see from him as a really athletic, long dude, is that he's going to have some pretty good matchups, especially in this one where, I mean, man, the Pacers, they just hemorrhage points to the power forward position as well as rebounds, especially if you're a good in transition and very, like I said, athletic guy like Jabari Smith, who's going to pull guys out to the 3-point line because he's made 3 of 5 on average in his last 3 games. But he's also going to be able to go down low and get a lot of offensive rebounds, almost 4 a game in the last 3. He's got 18 potential rebounds a game in the last 3. So he's in position to get those chances. I love to make sure he has volume there with the rebounds, but the points as well. Like I said, that perfect matchup for him. Indy's road defense is up to a 129 defensive rating over their last 7 games on the road. Just really, really, really bad stuff from the Pacers. And I don't know why today would get much better. I think Dylan Brooks is going to have a good time guarding. He's not going to have fun guarding Tyrese Halliburton, but I think he'll limit his points as long as he doesn't foul too much. So we'll see if he can keep that in check. But for Jabari here, really love what he's going to bring, over 26.5 points and rebounds as he continues to skyrocket with his production. We're going to go under. It's a little bit scary for Chet because he's at home and he plays really, really well at home. But we're going to go under 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists for the Chetster here. 40% rebound success rate versus Minnesota. That's where I started with this bet. The rebounds are at 8.5, but I do like adding all the other stuff because it's a lot overall. And if he does get some assists, points will be down and vice versa. So he's gone under this number in 9 of his last 10, and Minnesota's going to try to slow things down. This is where they do on the road is they play at about a 1 possession per 100 slower than when they're at home. They do have a better defense at home, but it's still a top 10 defense on the road overall compared to most road teams as well. All road teams, they have a top 10 defensive rating there when they're not playing at home. But they do try to slow things down. Like I said, they get fewer shot attempts. They limit rebounds overall to the opponent because there are fewer shots to go around. They're not making quite as many as they are at home, but the offensive rating is damn near the same. So But the true shooting percentage is also damn near the same. So it's not much of a difference there. And look, I mean, they're top three defending centers for a reason. I never thought I'd say this, but I do hope that Cat plays for the defense against Chet. And it's not like we used to say that about Cat. We used to say, I don't know, get Naz Reid in there. We'll get better defense without Cat on the floor. But that hasn't been the case as much this season. I like his ability to help out on Chet from further away from the basket when Chet does want to play out around the 3-point line. If he wants to pull Gobert out, that's when guys like Cat and maybe Naz Reid we'll see in there as well are good at stepping out. And Naz Reid is a good defensive matchup for Minnie as much as you can because Chet's playing really well. But like I said, in the last 10, the scoring hasn't quite been there for him to get to this number. And that's why he's gone under so often in those last 10 games. So under 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Chet Holmgren. Under 29.5 points and just assists for Domas Sabonis in this Kings game against Portland. And Portland's feisty, man. Like, they're surprisingly feisty. We keep talking about it. They're actually somewhat entertaining. We don't know if Shaedon Sharpe is going to play, but that doesn't really impact the defense or Domas too much. The guys that we want in there are Ayton, Grant, Brogdon. And those guys should be playing in this one, as well as Matisse Thybulle to help sort of crowd down low against Domas when he's playing with his back to the basket and might want to pass off of that, which is where he's very, very good. But he did go off. There's a couple of things here. He just went off for a triple-double, had a lot of assists in his last game out. And then also the last time he played Portland, another really good game where he went off for 27 and 6 assists in that one, which would get him over this number. But he played 40 minutes in that one. And he played without De'Aaron Fox in that one. So they were a lot more dependent on him to score, which is why you saw the 27 points and the higher usage rate. In his previous 4 versus Ayton when he was on Phoenix, 19 points per game on a 20% usage rate. I don't want to say that's apples to apples, but it is a good one-on-one matchup here. And his last 5 on the road, I should also mention his last 4 versus Portland before Ayton got there, also not good. That was against Nurkic. So that's why it's like not quite 1-to-1, but the team was relatively the same for Portland in the last 4 last season, other than, not the overall team, but the matchup for him against Ayton has been the same. So his last 5 on the road as well, not playing nearly, at least not getting quite as much of the stats there. 15 points per game, 5 assists per game in his last 5 roadies, 21% usage rate in that time. And that's what I'm banking on as well. I don't like 21.5 points for him, but I do like adding the assist to get all the way up there in case he decides to score a bit more than assist or vice versa. But this is too many for both of them. Portland is in their last 15 really good against centers. Shout out Dwap Reith as well, who's been incredible for them as a backup. And we'll get some minutes on Domas in there as well. And Portland has been limiting centers to the second fewest points per game over their last 15 games. I always talk trash on dominating and his inability to dominate on defense, but he gets a lot of defensive rebounds and definitely locks up the glass on that side of the floor. And overall, Portland at home, good defense, limiting the other team to the 9th fewest assists overall, the 9th worst assist to turnover ratio overall for them when they're playing at home. And so they're playing some pretty good defense at home, especially against centers. So we're going to ride with Domas to have a little bit of an inflated line here at 29.5 points and assists. Go under on that. Go to the 4th bet here. A little bit more fun than these unders, which is Orlando, a little same game parlay with the Magic. So plus 136 on DraftKings. Franz and Paolo to get 20 points each, and Orlando to win this game against the Zards. And believe it or not, the thing that scares me more than anything with this bet is like, are the Zards going to randomly decide to win a game at home? Not likely. They are horrible at home on defense. Worst defensive rating at home by far at about 127.5, even worse in their last 5 home games. They're going to get torched. I got to believe it against the Magic, who they're going to get a lot more Cole Anthony in there. Still got Markelle Fultz out. I believe Jalen Suggs is questionable, but it looks like he's leaning towards playing in that one, according to what we see on Twitter. And this is where, Washington's most vulnerable. There's 4 teams that we're always going to continue to go and find these really good scoring wings who are tall and athletic and drive to the rim. And that is this game against a Wizards team. You're going to look for that in the Pacers game, like I told you, where we got Houston and we're taking Jabari Smith. You're going to do it against the Hornets as well and the Hawks. All 4 of those teams just going to keep giving up a lot to these athletic power forwards and wings who drive to the rim. So both these guys get 20 because the Wizards give up the most points to power forwards. They give up a ton of rebounds as well. So there should be some second chance opportunities for both these guys. And this team, as you know, relies heavily on second chance points. They attack the rim. There will be a bit more 3-point shooting with Cole Anthony out there, a bit more. But still, Anthony Black's also going to get some more time, which limits that 3-point shooting. And he's going to need to get out of the way, honestly, because it's not a great matchup for him when you need the lane open for Paolo and for Franz. So I think that they're going to take advantage of a lack of Markelle Fultz, who would also be cutting into that lane and won't be because he's not playing. And somehow, like I said, Washington's defense is worse at home. So I'm not going to overthink this. I am going to just hit the money line. If you want to take like an alt spread of like -3.5, you can get this up about 15 cents to like plus 150, 155 or so. So, feel free to play around with it if you like, but I'm going to go with this one for plus 136 for these two to get 20 in the win. And then I am going to take a side here, and I'm going to take Houston to win at home because I love Houston at home, as should most of us, as they don't lose very often there at all. And basically, you've got Houston at home versus Indy on the road. And Indy on the road has not been pretty as of late. They were pretty good on the road before that IST, and that has not been the case since then. Their offense at home is much better, I should say, but on the road, their defense is just atrocious. Not that it's awesome at home for the Pacers, but even worse on the road. Like I was mentioning earlier, 128, almost 129 defensive rating for them on the road in their last 7 games. Houston defense at home, number 1 in the league. Actually, now I believe it's better than Minnesota. It's 1 and 2. They're both right at around 100 defensive rating on the season when they play at home. And Houston just limits everything that this team is going to want to do, especially when they're at home. They are the number 1 defensive rating. They have the number 1 transition defense at home as well, limiting points per possession when teams get into the transition, which we know Indy does rather at the most, the highest frequency in the league. They also allow the fewest points per game off turnover. So Indy's defense is going to continue to try to like swarm you, which is also why they give up so much down low, is they over pressure you on the up top and on the wings there, which is how teams just get to the rim at will. And that's why this team isn't going to turn the ball over. They're going to be going to the rim. Their guards, such as Fred VanVleet, especially someone I really like to control this game. Şengün as well is going to be playing a lot of point forward and point center to draw away Miles Turner. And because he's so much better than Miles Turner when they're standing further away from the basket, that's for sure, especially on offense for Şengün, baby Jokic, for a reason. They are also limiting teams to the 3rd fewest second chance points at home, which is something that Indy's going to rely on as well, because they attack the rim and they get those long rebounds, right? And so they're going to try to get those when they shoot a lot of threes out here. But yeah, I don't think they're going to get as much going to the rim. That is the one spot that you would be a little bit vulnerable if you were Houston, is Indiana going to go to the rim and attack a really weak defensive center down low like Şengün? Maybe, but Jabari Smith has gotten so much better with a really, really good defensive rating, like I said, over his last 3, helping out a ton down low. And I do think we'll see enough defense from Houston overall, especially pressuring guards up on the wings to be able to limit them to getting easy buckets. And also the free throws. That's the last thing I'll say about this game. The Houston is 10th in free throw attempt rate and even better at home. Indy is dead last in allowing free throws because they just foul. Like I said, they just sort of play that Ole defense because they're pressuring you too high. That forces their guards into foul trouble, and they're not going to have Bruce Brown in here. So that is the last thing. They're really dependent on Bruce Brown almost as much as Tyrese Haliburton at this point. His on-off numbers are so they're basically the same as Tyrese Haliburton's. When he's off the floor, the team is looking at a 10 points per possession worse offensive rating. Same with the defensive rating. So they really need both he and Haliburton on there to effectively execute that fast break. Without him to be the sort of second point guard and leading that transition, really like them to be able to handle them. And Indy's, just like I said, their offense has also been awful on the road. I should mention, against Memphis and Minnesota, 2 really good defensive teams at home. They combined to average 90.5 points per game in their last 2 against those 2 teams who built similarly to this Rockets squad. So quick summary of the bets: Jabari Smith Jr. over 26.5 points and rebounds combined. Chet Holmgren under 29.5 PRA combined. Domas Sabonis under 29.5 points and assists. Orlando same game parlay with our boy Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, 20+ points each, and Orlando money line for them to beat the Zards. And then Indy at Houston, -2.5 for the Rockettes in that one, in a matchup that they should have a lot of success. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Been calling for winners. We need winners. I like these picks. I was able to talk to a couple of people, including Nate and one other prop bomb as well, I should mention, who both are on a couple of these with me. So feeling really good. Continue to subscribe to that page if you would. Follow along. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments as you continue to do. You see me getting back at you, so I appreciate y'all. And until I see you next, happy betting.